All right, let's dive right in. We are going to build a super simple but really powerful toolkit for absolutely crushing those tricky comparative analysis questions. By the end of this, you're going to have a clear step-by-step method that will help you nail those top marks. You know that feeling, right? You've got two texts sitting in front of you, maybe it's a news article and a fiery speech, and the question is just, compare them. It can feel like, where do I possibly start? But I promise you, there is a super clear path through it all. And that path is exactly what we're building today. We're going to break down two incredible methods. First, TAPS for analyzing the texts, and then PECL for building your perfect answer. Stick with me and you'll walk away with a rock-solid strategy. Okay, part one. Let's get your toolkit ready. Before you can even think about writing a single word, you've got to understand what you're looking at. And that is where the TAPS method comes in. It's an acronym and it stands for tone, audience, purpose, and style. So let's start with T for tone. Tone is all about the vibe of the writing. How does it feel? What does it sound like in your head? Is it really serious and formal, or is it super passionate, maybe even a little angry? Pinning down that feeling is your first big step. Next up, A is for audience. You gotta ask yourself, who is the writer actually talking to? I mean, a newspaper article is probably shooting for the general public, right? But a formal letter of complaint? That's written for a very specific person, like a company manager or a local official. And knowing the audience is so important because it changes everything else. Which brings us perfectly to P for purpose. This is the big why. Why did the author write this in the first place? What's their goal? Are they just trying to inform you of the facts? Or are they trying to persuade you to believe something? Maybe to complain, or even to get you to take action. The purpose is really the engine driving the entire text. And finally, we've got S for style and structure. This is all about the how. How is the writer trying to achieve their purpose? Are they hitting you with cold, hard facts and statistics? Or are they trying to pull at your heartstrings with really emotional language and big questions? This is where you dig into the specific tools the writer's using. Okay, so you've used TAPS, you've broken down both texts, you've got your notes, you've got your ideas. So now what? How do you turn all that great analysis into a perfectly structured A+ paragraph? Well, that's where our next tool comes in, the PECL method. Think of PCL as your blueprint. It's a simple 5-step recipe that just works every time. You make your point, you back it up with evidence from text 1, then evidence from text 2, you explicitly compare them, and then you link it all back to the original question. It's basically foolproof. Now, hang on. Here is a pro tip that will make a massive difference. You need to use dedicated comparison words. Think of these as your secret weapons. Words like similarly or likewise when things are the same, and whereas or in contrast when they're different. These words are like little signposts for your reader that make your comparison super direct and really, really strong. All right, theory is great and all, but let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to run through a quick practice scenario right now to put both TAPS and PECL into action. So our topic is pollution. On one side, we have a little snippet from an informative article, very factual, very data-driven. And on the other side, we've got a line from a passionate speech just full of emotion. Two totally different ways of talking about the exact same issue. Okay, first step, let's apply our TAPS toolkit. For the article, the tone is serious and informative. The audience, the general public. The purpose, simply to inform, using the style of facts and statistics. The speech, on the other hand, its tone is passionate and persuasive, aimed at a local community to request action, and it does that using emotional language. See, laying it out like this makes the key differences just pop right out. Now, let's build our PECL paragraph. We always start with P, the point. We just state our main comparative idea right up front, something like, both texts discuss the issue of pollution, but they approach it with different purposes. Simple, clear. Next up, the first E, for evidence. We need to pull a specific detail from text 1 to back up our point. So we add, the article informs readers by using statistics about waste levels. Perfect. Now for our second E, evidence from text 2. And watch this. See that little word, while? That's one of our secret weapon comparison words in action. We're directly connecting the two texts, showing how the speech uses a totally different tool, emotional language, to get its job done. And that leads right into C for compare. Here, we're really spelling out the difference in their methods. We can add that the speech also makes these direct requests for action, which the informative article just doesn't do. This right here, This is the heart of your analysis. And finally, L for link. We just tie it all together in a nice bow, bringing it back to the big picture. We can conclude that their different methods are a direct result of their different audiences. And that's it, a perfect high-scoring PECL paragraph. Okay, before we wrap this up with a final checklist, I want to leave you with the single most important rule of comparative analysis. Seriously, if you remember nothing else from this, remember this one thing. Here it is, you have to compare directly. Do not just describe the text separately. That's a summary, not a comparison. Don't say, text 1 does this, text 2 does that. You have to connect them in the same sentence using those powerful comparison words. The difference between the article is informative, the speech is persuasive, and while the article is informative, the speech is persuasive. That tiny change is everything. All right, you've analyzed your text, you've written your answer, you've followed the golden rule. Before you submit that paper, just run through this one last quick checklist. Just ask yourself these 5 quick questions. In every paragraph, did I actually compare both texts? Did I use specific examples or quotes? Did I touch on tone, audience, purpose, and style? Did I use those awesome comparison words? And maybe most importantly, did I actually answer the question that was asked? If you can say yes to all of these, you are in fantastic shape. Because at the end of the day, that is what this all comes down to. You know, anyone can read 2 different texts and kind of get what they're about. The real skill, the A+ skill, is building that bridge between them and explaining that connection clearly. So there you go. That's your complete toolkit for acing comparative analysis. The only thing left to do is practice. So grab a couple of articles, maybe an old speech, apply taps, build a PECL paragraph, and just see the incredible difference it makes. You've got this. Now go write that A+ answer.